What is going on, everybody else? Coming in hot today with a video on feet and ankles. I've been going through some ankle stuff here recently, and so I've been focusing on that a little bit. Mostly on my left side, I've been trying to sit in a cross-legged position, and because of it, I have been kind of twisting my foot a little bit too far to the side. And so it's kind of getting stuck. And so I've been working with kind of trying to get it unstuck, and I figured some of these movements might be useful for the rest of y'all and your ankles. Just a little bit of anatomy before we get into it. Ankle joints, like this one. Right, it's just a hinge joint, right, that goes up and down. And what happens whenever this hinges is that there's going to be a little bit of this bone that pushes back underneath the shin bones, underneath this tibia, right? And so as this goes back, we want that bone to move backwards, but sometimes things get stuck, things get sticky. And so as the foot comes up, then there's some pain, right? And that pain can come across right here. And this is just one thing that can go wrong in the ankles if you've had surgery recently, or maybe even not recently, right? If you've had some kind of injury there can be a couple of other things that are going wrong, but some of these movements can be useful for any of that. So just a little bit of like, this is the part that we're working with, just trying to help this hinge joint to hinge a little bit more. In order to do that today, we are going to use foam roller, boom. We're gonna need a ball, boom. And if you don't have a foam roller, you can use a rolled up yoga mat or a rolled up blanket. Thank you, American Airlines, for this one. So, they didn't sponsor it, I stole it from them. Just getting started, as we usually do here, we're just gonna roll some things out. We're gonna start by rolling out the bottom of the feet. I like to use lacrosse balls. They tend to be a little bit more sturdier. They tend to be sturdier than a tennis ball. If you use a tennis ball, the tennis ball will sometimes lose its form. So you just want to go ahead and start by rolling out the bottom of the feet. This might feel really good. And if this feels really good, then you probably want to do this every day. Right? And another thing that we can do here, probably seen this in other videos of mine, is bring the heel down to the floor. Place the ball on the ball of the foot, and then try to grab the ball with the toes. I'll come up a little closer so y'all can see. All right, so ball goes there. Ball goes like that, and then you try to grab the ball. You're trying to pick the ball up with the toes almost. All right, squeezing there. And you want to do all sides, right? You want to start with the pinky toe, and then move your way over towards all the other toes. You just do that for as long or as little as you like. Sometimes it's nice to just kind of press down and feel a little bit of that squeeze there. We're not trying to squeeze any tension out. We're not trying to like dig into the foot. We're just letting ourselves mobilize it a wee bit. So swap to the other foot whenever you're ready. Feel free to pause the video, then catch up if you're like, oh my God, this feels good. I don't want to do anything else for the rest of my life. Pause the video. And then pick back up whenever you are ready. So same thing on this opposite foot. Heel comes down to the floor, and then just start grabbing with the toes. Ball on the ball of the foot. And slowly working your way from side to side of the foot. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to roll out our shins, yes, but mostly our calves. Sometimes there's a whole bunch of tension that gets caught up in the calf space. And so we want to make sure that we're mobilized through there, because sometimes what can restrict movement here is tension in the calves. If there's not enough flexibility in the calf, right, then the calf isn't going to be able to, if there's too tense on the calf, then the shin muscles won't be strong enough to be able to pull the foot up, right? So we want to massage through here a wee bit. So just coming up onto the foam roller or the rolled up towel or blanket that you have. The foam roller is going to be a little bit firmer And it's going to help a little bit more, but if you notice, I would say help a little bit more, but help is relative. Just notice the level of sensation that's in the calf, right? So if you're doing this with me on a foam roller and your calf is like, sweet God, Jesus in heaven, please stop. Then go down to the yoga mat or the rolled up towel, because sometimes it doesn't take much to feel good. You also want to make sure that you're internally and externally rotating the leg, right? You're rocking it from side to side as you go up and down on the calf. So all that fascia, all those fibers, get massaged out a little bit differently if you do it like that, if you do it like so. And when all that feels good, maybe even finding a knot, if there's like a point of tension, and then just playing with that flexion and extension of the foot. Right? And just feeling that knot on the foam roller. And again, we're not trying to dig anything out, we're just noticing what we notice. How does all of this feel? And then when it feels complete, let yourself go to the opposite side. Just let yourself move and groove. Just rolling through that whole calf, side to side, up and down, noticing those big points of tension. And if there's like big knots, feel free to kind of rest on that for a little bit, then mobilize the foot, flexing and pointing. And just taking your time, noticing what's useful to you, what is not useful to you. But ultimately, it's just about finding ease, right? That's what we want to do. We want to feel ease in the body. That's the direction we're moving ultimately. Yeah. And then, when it feels good, just let yourself come up to standing. And just notice how you feel after so far. Notice if there's any change so far and how the bottom of the legs feel. If there's any change in how the ankle feels so far. And how the feet feel in general. You might notice some more snaps, some more pops, and some more crinkles, all of which is perfectly natural. And so what we're going to play with is a little bit of mobility. Let me roll up my pants some so that way y'all can see a little bit more better. Yeah, and so we're just going to play with kind of this forward and back motion, because even if the ankle is a hinge joint, like I was showing you all earlier, there's still some different ranges of motion that the ankles can do. And like the legs are really heavily involved in this motion as well, but you can still kind of move the foot from side to side by itself, right? And that's not really a part of that hinge joint, but it does help to mobilize the leg overall. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to see what range of motion are we working with here. And we're going to do that by coming back down onto the ground. We're going to use the foam roller again. Foam roller is going to go right underneath the ankle. And when you let the foot relax completely, are you doing what I'm doing? Where foot comes up and then just drops down to the side, right? Does it kind of slant in like this? Or does it kind of flop straight forward? Right? If it's turning one way to the other, then things might be tense, right? That could just be how you are, and if there's no pain associated with it, that may be all right? But like my other side doesn't do that, right? My other side just plops straight forward like this. And so just play with, okay, how does your foot move backwards and forwards? This is just going to give you some information as to how is my foot moving, right? What is happening in my feet? Just go back and forth and play. And if your foot is tilting too far to one side or to the other side, then just start by moving it the opposite way. Right? And we're just only moving in a range of motion that's comfortable. If there's any pain here, if there's any strain or undue tension, stop. But we just want to play with mobilizing the foot from side to side. Right? And we're just pulling it open and then relaxing. Pulling it open and relaxing. Right? This is me relaxed. And so it takes effort to pull it to my left. And then when I relax the tension, the foot automatically draws to the right. So just giving yourself that space to play here. And if the foot is moving the opposite direction, then maybe just letting it, right, so the same is true vice versa. So if your foot is kind of flopping open to the left, then maybe just playing with forcing that motion to the right some. Just exploring that side-to-side motion of the foot. You can also then kind of level up the foot, right? So kind of bring it back to center and then play with pulling the toes back and then pushing the toes forward. Toes back and forward. And you might notice some tension popping up in the shins as you do this. And you want to make sure that there's no additional tension from other parts of the leg. Sometimes the thighs can come in and help. Sometimes the hips can come in and help. Right? And so only move that foot in a range of motion where it's just the foot moving. Just let it move backwards and forwards, moving in nice, easy ranges of motion. Again, this isn't about pounding out 400 of these. It's about just noticing. Because when we tap into that space of exploration in ourselves, that's when healing happens. Because we're not trying to force the body to do something, we're seeing what's the body doing right now. What am I capable of? And only moving as far as there's no pain. And then let the foot kind of stay in this toes up position. And then you can even start to then move it from side to side. And just notice how that feels. But only if that feels all right, right? There's no reason to make yourself more uncomfortable. There's enough things in life already that we have to push through. Don't make your healing journey one of them. Healing can happen. We want it to happen. It can be uncomfortable, but we can let it and not force it. And when that feels complete, just let the foot relax. So my foot's relaxed now, and just after those couple of ones, it's not dropping into the side anymore. Right? So just after a couple of motions, that relationship between the foot and the ankle change. Now, I've been doing this for a little bit, so you might be different. So it may take a little bit, if that is what's going on with you. Right? Just coming into the other side. Just start by playing with that side-to-side motion. You might notice as you do this more frequently, if you do this daily, you might notice the shins, you might notice some more tension happening around the calves and the ankles. It's muscular tension that's happening. Some of these muscles we're training to turn on. And so just be gentle with yourself on those days where there's more stress, where there's more tension, where there's more of that muscle fatigue. Let yourself relax. Maybe choosing an Epsom salt bath with the feet. And then when that feels complete, let's go back into those extensions. Just let the foot come back and then forward. And only moving in a range where there's no additional help from the legs. So no tension in the thighs, no tension in the butt. Just let this mobilize on its own. There's a whole bunch more mobility that you can do and explore, but the key is move in ranges of motion and explore ranges of motion that are easy, right? And so if moving the foot this far into the left hurts, does it hurt to do it half that much? Does it hurt to do it a quarter that much? And can you play in a very teeny tiny range? Because sometimes just letting the body know it's safe here. helps it to realize, okay, I can move a little bit further. Okay, it's safe here as well. Okay, it's safe here as well. And then it can feel more comfortable going into those larger ranges of motion. And so this last movement of pulling the toes back towards the shin, and then letting the foot move from side to side. Right, and so we're just helping this foot, this ankle bone, to move a little bit more functionally underneath that leg bone, underneath that tibia, fibia. Because we don't want those things getting stuck, because sometimes muscles can pull our feet one way or the other. If you're in rehab from surgery for feet stuff, just play with all of this. There's banded exercises that we can do in the future, so if this is too easy for you, sometimes a little bit of resistance can be useful. So grabbing a resistance band and attaching it to the leg of a table, and then doing the same exercise with the resistance band wrapped around the foot. Sometimes strengthening up the muscles to really pull the bones back into place can be useful. But for the most part, simple mobility can often be a great gateway. It takes a little bit longer, but it can be useful. And then when it feels good, just come back up to standing. Notice how you feel overall. Right? And if you like, just come up onto the toes and then down. Up on the toes and then down. And I say up onto the toes, but like really more of the balls of the feet. And can you move in a range where you're just moving up and down without the feet moving from side to side? Let me come a little closer so you can see. Right? Can we move with the feet going straight up and straight down? Because sometimes the feet will wiggle. This one's been doing this a little bit. My left one has been doing that a little bit for me recently, where as I come down, it wiggles. That's an exaggeration, but it likes to move. It favors one side over the other. And so can you just let yourself come up and down easily? If you feel like you want a little bit more of like a stretch on the calves, you can come onto a block. I know this wasn't part of what we said we were going to do earlier, where the block wasn't, but you can let the heels kind of sink down a little bit. And then you can let the feet come up and then down and then up and down. And just notice what range of motion you have here. What's useful here? And little by little, maybe you can do one leg at a time. And just when you're all done, just come back down into a comfortable seat, right? Whatever that means for you. And just take a moment just to sit, just to appreciate all the effort that you put into this practice today. If you want to, you can close the eyes, take a deep breath into the nose. Exhale with a sigh. Bring the hands to heart center. And just sit in gratitude for the effort that you put in. So thank you all for being here with me today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And I'll get back to you soon. Take care.